Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something you probably see every single day, but maybe don't think too much about.
That's right, aseptic paper packaging.
Exactly, those cartons keeping your milk, your juice, all sorts of things fresh. We've got our hands on a brand new report, the Global Aseptic Paper Packaging Market Report 2025, the Global Edition.
Fresh off the press, just published by Cognitive Market Research this past March.
And it's filled with some pretty eye-opening numbers.
Absolutely. I mean, the headline figure that really stands out right off the bat.
Go on.
The projection is that this global market is set to hit USD 18,240 million in 2025 alone.
Wow. $18 billion. That's a massive amount of packaging.
It really is. Signals a huge amount of activity in this space.
It certainly makes you pause, doesn't it? So, okay, our mission today is to, dig into that big number. What are the main forces driving this kind of scale?
And where are the opportunities? Maybe some challenges, too.
Exactly. What are the interesting spots and, the potential bumps in the road for this whole industry?
Yeah.
Okay, so the report clearly signals significant growth ahead, not just this year.
Oh, definitely. Looking at the bigger picture, the forecast takes us from that roughly 18.2 billion USD in 2025.
Yeah.
All the way up to, get this, USD 35,290.95 million by 2033.
Okay, so nearly doubling in, 8 years?
Pretty much. That translates to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 8.60% over that period.
8.6%. That's a really healthy clip of growth year on year.
It is indeed.
So what's the main engine behind this expansion, according to the report?
Well, the report points squarely at the rising demand for packaging that's seen as sustainable and, eco-friendly.
Right.
As environmental awareness grows and as rules around things like plastic waste get stricter.
Which they definitely are.
Businesses are actively hunting for greener alternative, and aseptic paper fits the bill for many.
Yeah, that definitely tracks with trends we're seeing everywhere, really. Okay, so let's get a sense of the geography. Where is all this happening? Which regions are leading the pack right now?
Okay, so currently North America holds the biggest piece of the pie.
Okay.
We're talking over 40% of the global revenue for 2025. That's a market size of USD 507.2 million.
5 billion just in North America, and the growth there.
They're looking at a solid 7.3% CAGR projected through 2033.
And what's driving it there specifically? Still sustainability?
Largely, yes. The report highlights the food and beverage industry's increasing shift towards sustainable packaging options as a key driver in North America.
Makes sense. And within North America, how does it break down by country?
Right. Well, the U.S. is the dominant force, no surprise there. Market size in 2025 is about USD 4,529.58 million.
4 billion of the 5.
Exactly, with a 7.1% CAGR. Then you have Canada coming in at USD 612.86 million, but with a slightly faster growth rate, interestingly, at 8.1%. And Mexico follows with USD 464.76 million and a 7.8% CAGR. So yeah, it's a strong, expanding market pretty much across the continent.
Okay, interesting dynamics there. Now, what about Europe? You mentioned regulations earlier. They've been pretty active on the environmental front.
They certainly have. Europe accounts for a significant chunk, too, over 30% of global revenue.
Okay.
Market size in 2025 estimated at USD 400,560.000 million, with a CGR of 7.6%.
So slightly faster growth than North America overall?
Yes. And the big driving factor there really seems to be those stringent EU regulations focused on cutting down plastic use and pushing for greater recyclability.
Policy and action shaping the market.
Absolutely. It creates a strong pull towards paper-based alternatives like this.
Can you give us a quick rundown of some key European countries?
Sure. The UK market is estimated around USD 766.0 million, but with a notable 8.4 per 6 AGR, so growing quite fast.
Faster than the EU average.
Right. Germany is the largest market in Europe, actually, at USD 902.88 million, growing at 7.8%. Then you got France, Italy, Russia, Spain, all significant markets, each with slightly different growth rates, mostly in the 6-7% range.
Okay.
But it's interesting, even smaller markets like, say, Sweden or Luxembourg, they're also showing strong growth, around 7.7%, 7.9%. It suggests this isn't just a big country phenomenon, it's a widespread shift across Europe.
Got it. So North America leads in current size. Europe's a strong second, maybe boosted more by regulation. Where else is the action happening? Where should we be really paying attention?
You absolutely need to keep an eye on Asia Pacific, APAC.
Okay.
Right now, this region makes up about 23% of global revenue. The market size for 2025 is pegged at USD 648.80 million.
So already bigger than North America or Europe in 2025.
Ah, good catch. Yes, bigger in total value for 2025 than either North America or Europe individually. Apologies, my earlier percentages were about share, not absolute value comparison. APAC is indeed the largest region by value in 2025.
Right, okay, that makes the next bit even more interesting then.
Exactly. Because here's the kicker. Their projected CAGR is a massive 9.9%.
Wow, nearly 10%.
Yes, that makes APAC the fastest growing region for aseptic paper packaging globally.
Okay, almost 10% growth.
Right.
What on earth is fueling that kind of rapid expansion?
It seems to be largely down to the booming demand for packaged food and drinks. You've got factors like rapid urbanization, more people moving to cities, and just changing lifestyles across the region. People want convenient, ready-to-consume, shelf-stable options.
That makes perfect sense, given the demographics and development trajectories in many APAC countries. So which specific countries are driving this APAC surge?
China is the heavyweight, of course. Market size estimated at USD 834.50 million in 2025, with a very strong 9.4% CAGR.
It's huge.
Japan and South Korea also have very substantial markets, both growing nicely, around 8–9%. But here's a detail that really caught my eye.
Yeah.
India. It's projected to have the highest growth rate of any single country in the report.
Really? How high?
An incredible 11.8% CAGR, starting from a 2025 market size of about USD 674.88 million.
Double-digit growth. In a market the size of India. That's significant.
Absolutely. It points to massive future potential. Other key players to watch in APAC include Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, and also the Southeast Asia subregion, which itself is growing at over 10%.
Okay, so APAC is clearly the growth engine. India in particular is one to watch. What about the other regions? South America, Middle East, Africa, are they seeing growth too?
They are, yes. South America holds just over 5% of the market. Its 2025 size is around USD 693.12 million.
And growing.
Yes, quite strongly, actually, a CAGR of 9.3%. A key driver there is the growing demand for packaging that offers an extended shelf life. Brazil and Argentina lead the way there.
9.3%, almost as fast as APAC.
Interesting.
And the Middle East and Africa.
The Middle East makes up about 2% of global revenue. Market size around USD 729.60 million, also growing at 9.3% CAGR.
Say right again. Why there?
Seems to be driven by demand for packaged drinks and dairy products, fueled by population growth and, well, hot climates where shelf stability is key. Saudi Arabia and the UAE are the major markets.
Okay. And Africa?
Africa holds about 1% of the global market, roughly USD 401.28 million in 2025. But again, strong growth projected, 9.2% CAGR.
Still very high.
Yeah, the need there is for safe, long-lasting food and beverages, especially where cold chain infrastructure refrigeration might be limited or unreliable. South Africa and Nigeria are the key countries highlighted.
Wow. So the takeaway seems to be growth is happening pretty much everywhere, but the really explosive growth is concentrated in APAC, South America, the Middle East, and Africa, often starting from smaller bases but with very high CAGRs.
That's a good summary. North America and Europe are the established giants, still growing respectably, while other regions are catching up fast.
Okay, fascinating geographical picture. Now let's dive into the packaging itself. How does the report break down this market? What kinds of material structures are we talking about?
Right. So the report segments the market in a few useful ways. First off, by the type of paper used. Currently, bleached paperboard holds the largest market share. This is probably what you picture. It's strong. It has that smooth, white surface that's great for printing logos and designs.
The classic milk carton look.
Exactly. And it's generally considered eco-friendly, being paper-based.
Right. But is that the only type? Are others gaining ground?
Definitely. The report identifies coated, unbleached kraft paperboard as the fastest growing segment in terms of paper type.
Unbleached kraft, so more of a natural brown look.
Often, yes, though it's coated. The key things here are its strength, it's very durable, it provides excellent barrier properties to protect the contents, and crucially, it often has an even stronger sustainability story or perception.
Ah, because it skips the bleaching process.
Precisely. So it's seen as a robust, highly functional, and very eco-conscious alternative. It's really resonating.
Interesting. So bleached leads now, but unbleached kraft is the one growing fastest. Okay, what's the next segmentation?
Thickness, measured in micrometers or M.
Right, how thick the paperboard is.
Exactly. And the 240 to 260 micrometer range currently has the biggest slice of the market.
Why that range specifically?
It seems to hit a kind of sweet spot. It offers a good balance between strength, durability, cost-effectiveness, and providing the necessary barrier protection against things like moisture and light for many standard products.
So kind of the workhorse thickness.
You could say that it's versatile. However,
Yes.
the segment for paperboard that's thicker than 280 micrometers is growing rapidly.
Thicker. Why the need for that?
It just provides even better, enhanced barrier properties. This is really important for more sensitive products, things that need an extra long shelf life or are particularly susceptible to oxygen or light damage. Think premium juices, maybe some dairy alternatives.
Okay, so standard thickness for most things. Thicker for products needing extra protection. Makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the actual construction? You hear about layers in these cartons.
Right, the packaging structure. Here, the 6-layer structure currently holds the largest market share.
6 layers.
Mhm.
Wow. What do they all do?
It's a complex sandwich. Each layer has a job. Typically, you'll have polyethylene for liquid proofing and sealing, paperboard for structure and stiffness, more polyethylene for adhesion, aluminum foil as a crucial barrier against oxygen and light.
The foil layer.
Exactly. And then more layers of polyethylene inside. This multi-layer approach is what gives aseptic cartons their amazing ability to keep products fresh for months without refrigeration. It's like a little fortress.
6 layers sounds effective, but maybe complex and maybe resource intensive.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a simpler alternative gaining traction?
Yes, absolutely. The 3-layer structure segment is experiencing rapid growth.
3 layers. What gets left out?
Typically, the aluminum foil layer is absent in the 3-layer structure. It's often used for products that are less sensitive to oxygen or light, or perhaps have a shorter required shelf life, maybe needing refrigeration after opening.
So less protection, but potentially greener.
Potentially, yes. It uses less material overall, which is good for sustainability, and it's generally more cost-effective to produce. For many products, 3 layers offer perfectly adequate protection.
Okay, so a trade-off there between maximum protection and cost materials. Now, what about the carton shapes themselves? Are we just talking rectangles?
The report focuses on cartons, and within that, yes, the familiar flat-top cartons currently dominate the market share.
The standard bricks.
Pretty much, they're super efficient for packing, stacking, storing on shelves. They're relatively cheap to make, and they protect the contents well. There's standard juice boxes, milk cartons.
Right, ubiquitous. But I feel like I'm seeing other shapes more often now.
You probably are. Gable top cartons, the ones with the peaked roof, often with a plastic pour spout.
Yeah, those.
That segment is growing rapidly. They offer versatility. Consumers often find them easier to pour from. They still offer good protection. And manufacturers are increasingly making them with sustainable materials and features, too.
The convenience factor, maybe?
Easier handling. That seems to be a big part of it, yes. User-friendliness.
Okay, one last segmentation.
Yeah.
Who's actually using all this packaging? Which industries?
The end-use segmentation. Currently, dairy products account for the largest share.
Makes sense.
Milk, yogurt.
Exactly. Milk, yogurt drinks, buttermilk, creams. The high demand for long shelf life without needing refrigeration makes aseptic packaging a natural fit for the dairy industry. It drastically reduces spoilage.
Yeah, it revolutionized milk distribution, didn't it? So dairy is the biggest user now. Which sector is showing the fastest growth in adopting this packaging?
That would be the broader beverages category.
Beverages beyond dairy.
Yes. Think fruit juices, nectars, iced teas, but also things like carbonated soft drinks in cartons, and even some alcoholic beverages like wine or cocktails are appearing in aseptic paper packaging now.
Wine in a carton, okay.
It's happening. There's just a real surge in demand across the beverage industry for options that are shelf-stable, convenient for on-the-go consumption, and again, perceived as more eco-friendly than some alternatives. So these cartons are branching out well beyond the traditional milk and juice aisles.
Fascinating. Okay, let's pull back a bit now. We've looked at the regions, the materials, the users. What are the overall market dynamics? The big forces pushing and pulling this market? The key drivers?
Well, as we've touched on, the general growth in the global food and beverage industry is a fundamental driver. More people consuming more packaged goods.
Right, the underlying demand.
Then, specifically for aseptic, the ongoing advancements in the processing technology itself are crucial. Innovations keep improving shelf life, maintaining nutritional quality, and reducing the need for artificial preservatives. That makes the whole proposition more attractive.
Better tech means better products.
Exactly. And layered on top of that is the clear consumer preference shift towards packaging that's convenient, lightweight, easy to store, and importantly, recyclable or seen as sustainable. So it's a confluence of factors: industry growth, tech improvements, and consumer demand aligning. What about the other side? Are there any significant breaks on this market? Any restraints?
The report does highlight a couple of main challenges. First, the initial investment cost. The machinery needed for aseptic filling and packaging lines is specialized and can be quite expensive.
A barrier to entry, perhaps?
It can be, especially for smaller companies or in developing markets. Second, while the cartons are recyclable, the infrastructure for actually doing the recycling isn't universally available or efficient everywhere.
The multi-layer problem again. Separating the paper, plastic, and aluminum.
Precisely. Improving that recycling infrastructure is a key challenge for making the whole system truly circular and maximizing the environmental benefits.
Those are definitely critical points for the industry's future.
Mm.
So, looking ahead, what key trends does the report see emerging?
Well, building on those points, there's a huge ongoing push towards even greater sustainability and recyclability. Companies are innovating with materials like using plant-based plastics instead of fossil fuel-based ones for the layers and caps, or designing cartons that are easier to recycle.
More eco-innovation.
Definitely. And another interesting trend is the growing use of smart packaging technologies.
Smart packaging. On a carton. How?
Things like embedding QR codes or maybe even NFC tags right onto the package.
What for?
All sorts of things. Could be for enhanced traceability, letting you track exactly where the product came from, or providing consumers with more detailed product information, recipes, or even interactive experiences via their smartphones.
Huh. Smart juice boxes. That's an
Yeah.
interesting potential future. Finally, who are the big companies driving all this? What does the competitive landscape look like?
It's a highly competitive market, as you might expect. The major players are really focused on innovation, both in the packaging itself and the filling technology, pushing sustainability and expanding their global reach. This often happens through partnerships, mergers, and acquisitions.
And the names? Any familiar ones?
Oh, yes. The report mentions the big established leaders in this field, companies like Tetra Pak, Sigcom-Biblock, Elopak. These are the giants whose names you often see subtly printed on the cartons themselves.
Right, the household names in packaging, even if people don't always realize it. Okay, great overview. Let's try to quickly wrap up the main takeaways from this deep dive.
Sounds good. So we've seen the global market for aseptic paper packaging is not just large, but experiencing really strong growth.
Driven primarily by that demand for sustainability and convenience.
Exactly. And while growth is global, the Asia-Pacific region stands out as the fastest growing area, with some really remarkable rates in countries like India.
Yeah, that was a key point. We also saw how the market breaks down. Bleached paperboard still leads, but unbleached kraft is rising fast. Different thicknesses and layer structures serve different needs.
And carton shapes like gable tops are gaining popularity. Plus, while dairy is the biggest user now, the broader beverage category is the fastest growing end-use segment.
And for me, that standout detail really was that double-digit growth forecast for India. It's more than just a number. It really signals potentially huge shifts in consumer behavior and market opportunities in a massive dynamic economy.
It absolutely does. It underscores how varied the market dynamics can be from region to region. So hopefully this discussion has given you, our listener, a clearer, more concise picture of this important packaging market where it stands today and the key trends shaping its future.
Definitely. It's a space worth watching. And just to leave you with something to think about, considering these twin drivers of environmental benefit and consumer demand, how might future breakthroughs in recycling technology, making it easier and cheaper to separate those layers, how might that further accelerate the adoption of aseptic paper packaging? Could it unlock even wider use?
And following on that, what completely new applications might emerge for this kind of packaging as the technology keeps evolving and maybe becomes more cost-effective or adaptable? Things we haven't even considered yet.
Lots to ponder there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.